Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. This time out, we have a very special guest joining us, Peter James from Hillsong United, keyboardist, sound designer, arranger, producer, musician, touring keyboard player. You're doing all kinds of things.
Yes, I do.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Yeah. Tell us why you were here. What did you come in for?
So just recently, I partnered with Multitracks to make all my patches and all that kind of stuff available on their website. And we're also doing a kind of a training, in-depth computer, keyboard, sound design, that kind of thing here. So yeah, I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So you're doing a workshop then where you're kind of showing how to create sounds? Is that what you're going into?
Yeah, just showing what I use week to week at Hillsong Church, what I use on tour, how to create some of the sounds that I create, my thought process behind how I get to the end product kind of thing with my sounds and yeah, that kind of thing.
Right, wonderful. So you've had quite a prolific career. In addition to all the touring, it says on your website you've done more than 40 albums with the various Hillsong.
Something like that. Doesn't seem like that, but yeah, it has been over the
That's pretty crazy. How did you get into doing that?
So I was born in New Zealand originally. I moved to Australia to do Hillsong College, which is Bible college and a music college kind of intertwined. Then basically I just started serving in the church, helping out at youth, that kind of thing.
Right.
Because Hillsong's really based around volunteer and building the local church and that kind of thing. And that's what I did. I just helped out where I could, not paid or anything. And then eventually things progressed. I got to play in youth and then main church, if you want to call it that.
Right.
And then just one day they're like, hey, do you want to go on a tour with Hillsong United? And we went to New Zealand and then just the ball got rolling and
here you are.
Been doing it ever since. So,
Right. So did you go into, how accomplished as a keyboard player were you going in when you started playing?
Okay, so I got lessons since I was 5 years old. So when I moved to Australia, I think I was 20. So I've been playing for quite a long time. But the whole music thing's been a journey. I learned classical, I think it was. Started off learning classical, then got into jazz. But most of my sound design, modern rock, alternative rock stuff, that was all self-taught. So I basically just spent hours in front of a computer going, what does this button do? What does that do?
Right.
And listening, that's basically how I learned all that stuff. Listen to records, what are they doing? How do I emulate that? And yeah, just self-taught.
So you started out trying to copy the sounds you were hearing
Exactly.
on records? Wow.
Yeah. So I would sit for hours just going, what are they doing? What's that reverb? What are they doing with that filter? And just trying to reverse engineer, I guess, stuff that other people have done and learn it that way.
Right. So how does the process work then when you go in to contribute to an album?
Yeah.
Do you come in with a palette of sounds, or do they tell you you're going to have this, or are they your songs, or how does that whole thing come together?
Yeah, so what we do when we've got a new song, someone like Joel or whoever's written the song will come in with acoustic version, acoustic and vocal. We sit there and just workshop it. I come in with I use Omnisphere a lot, so I've actually gone through Omnisphere and rated every sound, or close to every sound. So I've got my favorites, I've got the ones that I don't like as much, and those are the ones that I first go to. But the way I try to create is I try to create in my head first. So I realized quickly that if I start playing straight away, I go into automatic mode, I go into autopilot mode, and I create something that's same old. So my process is I'll step back, I'll listen to the song a few times, try to create in my head, and then start pulling patches from what's already going on in my head. Does that kind of make sense? So yeah,
absolutely.
That's the way that I do it.
Right. And what is the arrangement process like? Because with a keyboard or with a virtual instrument like that, you can take up a lot of space. And obviously there's other instruments that have to, it'd be great if that was all you heard was the Omnisphere patch, but there has to be room for guitar and vocals and everything else. Tell us a little bit about how you approach the thought process to that.
Yeah, that's great. It's all based around what sound we're going for. So a lot of the times, whoever's song it is or the producer will go, we're going after this kind of sound, and they'll bring in a song or a reference kind of track and go, these are kind of the sounds we're going after. So we have a good idea of the overall sound that we're going for, and that kind of limits what sounds we're going to put on it. And then it's just pretty much free-for-all. We just throw in all our ideas and we all talk about it and we decide, oh yeah, we're going to take that guitar part, or oh, that riff sounds good on the keyboard, so let's do that. Once we've got the main riff for the song, then everyone starts to fall into kind of I don't know how you'd put it, but they kind of fall back and try to support what the main parts are, I guess.
Okay.
So you become more of a supporting role once you've got the main riffs, the main parts. Also, I do a lot of art-based stuff, and that falls heavily on the drum groove. So we have to figure out what the drum groove is for the chorus, what the drum groove is for the verse, bridge, and then from that basic groove, that's where I get my rhythm, art-based stuff. Something that will support the groove.
So you're using arpeggiators that are locked to the tempo then to create those parts?
Yeah.
Right.
So in Omnisphere, there's great art features, and I'm using the art features and kind of customizing my own rhythm patterns to fit in with what the groove of that song is. So.
Right. So you've obviously then delved deeply into Omnisphere. Did you get a chance to check out some of the new features in Omnisphere 2 that's coming out very soon?
No, I've seen a bunch of the videos. I'm pumped to get it. 10,000 sounds, I'm like, man, I'm going to be sitting at my computer for months trying to get through all them. But I'm really pumped about
you got to go
the
through
new
that reading
features.
Process all again, right?
Exactly.
The whole thing, right?
It's going to be crazy.
Right. Well, 10,000 more songs, you can use each of them.
Exactly.
So there you go. So what are the challenges then when you create these sounds, and they're lush sounds, or they're arpeggiated, and there's a lot of activity going on there? What are the challenges then when you have to take those on stage?
Okay, so obviously there's a lot more tracks on an album than we can produce live with one keyboard player. So we do a combination of live and tracks, but we'll pull the main parts off the tracks and I'll play them live. But having said that, not every song we do is tracked. Sometimes we like to be able to ebb and flow, and we'll try to emulate kind of a lesser version, I guess, sonically live, just so we can just take it wherever we want. But the ones with tracks, we'll pull the main parts so it looks like I'm playing the main piano parts, because I am. Right. But we still want it to sound big, so a lot of the tracks will have, and they sync with video and everything else. So.
But it's not you don't have to be 100% exactly duplicate absolutely every single thing on the recorded version.
Yeah, that's our philosophy. It's meant to be a live performance, so you don't want it to sound exactly like a CD or recording. People want to see the live element, they want to see a bit of interaction, they want to see a bit of variety, but still staying true to what the song is, and that kind of thing. Right.
So are you, as a keyboardist then, obviously you're playing the keyboard parts, are you also controlling some of the other things? Are you working with the tracks that are playing?
No, I've just been solely a keyboard player. So there's a guy at the back with a computer, and he's triggering tracks, and that's syncing with video and everything. So my job is just keys.
To play.
Yeah,
nice.
Which is a lot easier.
You don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
So what kind of rig are you using?
At the moment, I'm using MacBook Pro. I'm using a UAD Apollo Twin, Nano Korg controller. I think that's what it's called, with a bunch of sliders. I used to take a lot of external foot pedals, like guitar pedals, like Mogofoga, TC Electronics Nova Delay, Zvex Woolly Mammoth. But I've been cutting it down further and further, and I actually make my own custom sounds now. So I'll take sounds running through all these pedals, and like borrowing reverb pedals and creating all my own custom sounds, sampling them, and that way I don't have to take a massive amount of outboard gear onto it. But I love analog stuff.
It has to make it much easier to manage though when you're touring.
Exactly.
And setting up. So you have the MacBook Pro that you're touring. And is it Omnisphere running standalone then that you're playing everything in, or are you running that within another environment?
No, so I just used Mainstage. That's my hosting program, if you will. And then inside that I have Omnisphere and Contact and a bunch of other programs, but Omnisphere is my main one. That's where I get probably 90% of all my sounds from, and a little bit of sampled stuff in Contact. And
Right. You mentioned you're using the Apollo Twin as your audio interface. Are you also using the UAD plugins live, or are you using them in the studio?
I haven't been, but I know I can. Might delve into that a little bit more. We've actually used UAD plugins live at church and conference. So we route our vocals, main worship leaders' vocals through a UAD and run them live in conference. I've done that at one of our Hillsong campuses. Got to stand behind front of house and kind of muck around with those and put some, like the kick drum and vocals through them. But live at this stage, I'm just using it as an interface. And when I do my mixing and that kind of stuff at home, that's when I delve into all their plugins and put them to work.
The reason I ask is you mentioned guitar pedals, and they have Apollo Expanded is coming out, which is a new version of the software.
I just saw that just a minute ago.
Yeah, there's a Distortion Essentials pack in there that has a bunch of guitar pedals that are emulated, distortion pedals and things, and so you can do some of that stuff now
Can't
with
wait
the
to
virtual version.
check that out. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, there's always fun stuff coming on the technology
There
front.
is. It's great.
Right. How compelled do you feel to stay on top of that? Do you feel like I have my tools, I'm going to lock my hard drive shut for this tour, or are I always looking for the newest thing?
Yeah, I love new toys. Being creative and a musician, I'm always looking for the new thing. So yeah, having said that though, I love stuff that I know really well. So I use Omnisphere because I know it inside out. I can easily change something because I know it well, but I'm always looking for the newest thing to add to my rig. How can I make stuff better? How can I create a different sound, a fresh sound? So I think as a keyboard player, I'm meant to do that. I'm meant to push the boundaries. I want to create something that's different and unique. So something new, even just a different way of doing something can spark different creativity, can spark something new in my, creative process. So
Right. And you're sharing some of that on your website. I was checking out some of the videos. You have like the 10 essential plugins that you use and things. And what drives you to do that?
I love just getting knowledge out, and a lot of people will comment on stuff on social media and just go, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And sometimes the easiest thing to do is create a blog video rather than answering a million people the same kind of questions. So try to do that, get resource out, just let people know what I'm using, and hopefully they can learn and they don't have to go through the learning process that I've already gone through. So save them time.
Right. So what is your advice if somebody wants to get into being a sound designer? Do they need to be a really accomplished keyboard player and go through lessons and all those kind of things? Can they just focus on the computer? How do those two interact?
Yeah, so the modern day keyboardist has really changed. Rewinding 10 years ago was more, in my area, it was more piano-based stuff, strings, that kind of thing, but it's really come down to simple chords and sound design. There's nothing too technical about what I do on tour. So I think it's more of a sound designing thing rather than a technically brilliant thing. Most kids can pull off the stuff that I'm doing on tour, but it's more about selecting that sound, making it work with the rest of the band, thinking like a producer, I guess, and going, where's the biggest part of the song? What do I leave out to build it? Is there something that I can bring into the second verse? Or leave something out of the first verse so the second verse is bigger. Just, building a song dynamically, creatively, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's more sound design, I guess, these days than just straight piano technical stuff.
Just playing technique.
Exactly.
So can you develop your ear for that? Because obviously you have to have an ear to choose the right sound that fits and to work it around everything else. Is that something you can learn and develop? Yeah,
like anything, you can learn it. And the more time you spend doing it, the better you get. So growing up, the way I actually learnt music most of the time wasn't reading. I learnt how to read music, but that wasn't my strong point. So I'd sit in my bedroom listening to R&B, gospel, and I'd hear a chord. I'm like, that's really interesting. And I'd just rewind, play, sometimes for half an hour to find every single note in that chord. And that's basically how I learnt. And it was just growing up, being passionate about what I was passionate about, music and playing, and just spending the time listening and training my ear, and now it comes easy because I've put in all the work, I guess.
Right. It just takes time, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Time of putting it in. Right. Peter, thanks so much for coming in.
No worries.
It's been a real pleasure to have you here, and the workshop, the sound design workshop, what a great thing to have going on here at Sweetwater. It's just a pleasure to have you visit us.
Thank you. Love being here.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher.